There is no one home. Hello, this is Chris speaking. Wake up with a video about spirituality and consciousness and enlightenment and waking up. And today about there is no one home. The truth is that if you feel inside, you will realize at some point that there is no one home. There is no agency, no being there, doing anything, feeling anything, saying anything, thinking anything. Even the cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am, is in its last instance wrong. There is no I doing or feeling anything or thinking anything. There's only the universe manifesting itself amongst other things through me or you. Why can we not feel that all the time? If we could feel that all the time, we would be in a state of peace and presence all the time. There would be no problems because there's also no one a problem could happen to. We would just go with the flow. To be in the flow and in the moment, in the present, sometimes to know how that feels and to be there now and then is called awake, and to be there all the time is called enlightenment. Enlightenment is not some kind of superhuman being, some hero or heroine. It's just being in the present, being natural, being here now, and realizing that you're part of the universe. You're not separate from the universe, you're part of the big whole unity of absolute infinity, not a separate entity. So again, why can we usually not feel that? Because we have identified with the separation, with the feeling of separation. At some point, usually during childhood, we have decided that we are a separate entity, that we do not belong to the whole. We have fallen out of the nothingness, out of the peace, out of the present moment, because of some horrible thing or things that happened to us. In psychology, these things we call traumata. Something happened to us which was so horrible and so unbearable, energetically, physically, that our mind separated from the body. So we created the first separation. And this separation over the years took on a life of its own. And most likely this kind of traumatic experience happened several times. So you have several separations, several beings who split off the whole thing you were back then and took on a life of their own. And these we can call guardians, because they split off personality parts. Their job was to protect you then, and they still think they have to protect you now. And just as you have created this in the past, this is not a blame game, it's just facts. You have created a separation in the past to protect yourself. You can stop this separation now, but not by thought, only by sensation, only by feeling this part that is separated. And for a short moment, this horrible, unbearable feeling from which this guardian has protected you many years ago will come back. You have to feel it again, but now you're not a frightened child anymore, which cannot protect itself, which cannot defend itself, which cannot fight back or run away. Now you're an adult, and now you can deal with it, and you will see that it's not unbearable. And it's not as horrible as you thought it was. It was only that horrible back then when you were helpless and abandoned and without protection. Now you can deal with it and reincorporate that part of you that has been split off. And this guardian, if you really do it honestly, sincerely, will disappear in reincorporating itself into the whole. Without this process, I personally think that enlightenment is not possible, because these guardians will also protect you from enlightenment. They will not allow you that enlightenment happens to you, because they think that this nothingness, which is actually enlightenment, is part of the problem. They want to protect you from what you're yearning for. What you want is this peace and nothingness and being present. And this state is for the guardians the most horrible thing. The guardians think it's just naive and trusting in a beneficial universe, while actually the universe is hostile and dangerous. So the guardians, the split of personality parts, who as a group constitute your ego, your personality, your feeling of being a separate human being, different from other human beings and different from the world, they will not allow you to feel that nothingness. The nothingness is a threat. The feeling of unity is a threat. The feeling of presence is a threat. The feeling of peace is a threat to these guardians, to your personality and its parts. These parts, which now protect you, they think that back then, when they protected you, this horrible thing or these horrible things only happened because you were in that space of peace and nothingness and presence. So for them, that state is to blame, is responsible, is the cause of all your pain and suffering. If you would not have been in a state of peace and harmony, then this horrible thing wouldn't have happened to you. So, because temporally this is true, your mind thinks this is also causally true, which is not the case. But the mind doesn't get the difference. This is for me the most important information I have found in the last maybe at all. The most important information at all for me. It might not be such a surprise for you, but for me this is the missing link, and no one explains it better than Mike Hellwig in his Radical Allowance books. This is the misunderstanding of the mind. The mind uses all its resources, which otherwise could be used for consciousness purposes. The mind uses all its resources to protect you from the past. And what's back there in the past also, together with the trauma, before the trauma, is the feeling of peace and nothingness and harmony and presence. And because this feeling was there, the mind thinks it was the cause. It was the reason why you're now traumatized and why you now have to be protected. So, without trauma work, there is no way to enlightenment, because everything in you will make sure that enlightenment will not happen to you. Because enlightenment is exactly that from which the mind is more afraid than anything else. And the only way to solve this problem, to solve this obstacle or obstacle course, is to feel inside. All the answers are inside, and once these traumata are acknowledged and solved to some degree at least, reincorporated, then the way is free to enlightenment. There's nothing more that stands in the way of presence, because presence is. There's nothing you have to do. It's already there. Presence is, truth is, harmony is, the flow is, that nothingness and unity. It's all there all the time. The only reason why you cannot feel it all the time is because your self, your personality, your mind is all the time preoccupied with protection, with your defense, with preventing these horrible things from the past to happen again. Once the mind, the personality doesn't have to do that anymore, because the problems are solved, because you felt inside, journeyed inside, and really solved all these problems, instead of running away or pretending that they're not there, then presence is there waiting for you. And you can feel it. But first you have to be able to feel again. Because back then, as a child, you still had physical feelings, sensations. And these are cut off now. Your guardians are not allowing you to feel your body anymore. Any human adult person should be able to feel, how is my stomach today? How is my liver today? What emotions are in my body, in my being right now, and how does it feel like? It's not threatening. It's interesting. The only reason why you experience this as threatening, why you're afraid of feeling inside, is because of traumata in the past. And now you can, without any danger, feel these things again, and they will dissolve, and there you are, enlightened. And the more traumata you have, the longer it usually takes. I've been doing this work for 20 years now, but only recently, the last 2 years or so, and moreover, especially the last few months, I found the way for me, which works for me, to find these last traumata that were unconscious to me, that I didn't even remember. And so I can really say that this work is not as horrible as it looks like. It's very liberating. It's a great relief from all this tension and fear that was still lingering there. It's all about fear, actually. Fear, shame, and guilt. And you can only do two things: deal with it or not deal with it. But if enlightenment is your goal, you better deal with it as quickly and as soon as possible. Thank you for watching and joining me on Facebook and Patreon. And thank you for liking and subscribing and hitting the bell button. And see you soon.